Hello, beautiful people. Today is 8th of June. My name is Sahil, and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, he is William Fulbright, the US Senator and a great statesman. He says, statesmen often confuse great power with the total power and great responsibility with the total responsibility. Now, guys, the difference between the great power and total power is that of a responsible nation and a authoritarian nation. So, whenever owing to the economic dominance, defense dominance, a country consider itself to be a hegemon, then guys, it is a classic example of a great power becoming a total power. And this particular thing is not relevant for the sustainable living of all the democracies together. So guys, into the international relation, we can use this particular example to show the unilateral attitude of certain hegemon countries. So there we can use it. Moreover, also into the paper on essay, we can use this example. Now, friends, yesterday was Sunday, and on Sundays we don't take the mains question. So mains framework will not be there. However, today main question will be there and you can attempt it. Now, guys, a lot of you have a problem as how to attempt the mains question which I am giving at the end of the video, where to send the answers. So friends, there are two options. You can post the questions into the comment section, and secondly you can post onto the Telegram channel. Now guys, the link of the Telegram channel can be found out into the description. Moreover, onto the Telegram we also share the PDF notes of the newspaper discussion that we are taking. Now, friends, for the sending of your answer, just go to the Telegram app. Into the search bar, you need to tag at the rate Saurabh Polity. So, Saurabh sir is our faculty member, and when you'll tag him, we will get your copy and we will send you a voice note as what are the changes that you need to make into your copies. So, guys, I hope it is clear now. If you still face any problem, then feel free to communicate to me. I will give you the better way. However, into the main course of time, we will further streamline this answer sending mechanism. Please wait for some time. Now, guys, let's start with the newspaper analysis. Now, first of all, let's take the overview of entire paper. So here, guys, the hospitals in Delhi has been reserved for the residents. So we will see with respect to paper 4 that what are the ethical considerations here. Secondly, as boundary talks on LAC are going on, we will see the most important boundary agreements and where you can put it into your papers. After that, moving forward. So guys, here we have a news where the Odisha government is planning the mega educational institutions, and we'll see why they are needed and how they could be helpful in meeting the internal security challenges of India also. Then we'll be moving and we'll see that the Chhattisgarh government had performed exemplary onto the MG Narega and what could be the implications of this thing into the long term. Then we are into the editorial section. The first editorial talks about the politics of BJP and the seat dynamics into the Rajya Sabha. So not important because it is a political article. Then guys, will see that what has been the history of the Persian Gulf with respect to the major superpowers and what are the way aheads into this particular region and how India can perform. Then into this particular article, we'll see how private sector could be utilized in order to give a fight to pandemic. Then guys, here we'll see that the pricing of the hospitals into the private sector has been capped, so it is a good thing. So we'll see this thing. Then recently a controversy erupted because of the killing of an elephant. So in this direction we will see the man animal conflict here. After that, guys, this article is not important because it shows the spat into the New York Times and why the Hindu doesn't publishes some type of article, not needed. So this article is on to the political extremism in South Asia, not needed for our exam. Guys, moving forward, today the majority of news is with respect to the COVID and all that kind of stuff, so which are not important. However, moving forward, here we have a news which talks about internal dynamics into the China. So briefly we will see this thing. Now guys, again moving forward, education plus no important articles are here. And then finally we reach to the world page. So the protest, COVID, all that kind of thing. So here briefly we will see the China's white paper onto the origin of virus. And then there is no business page today also. So guys, now there are not news here. So these are the important articles, and now let's take the detailed analysis of the paper. Friends, here you can see that Delhi government has reserved the hospitals only for its residents. Now, This particular thing becomes an important matter for our GS paper number 4, which deals with the ethical considerations. Now, guys, first of all, this matter is being done into the aftermath of a pandemic where large number of vacancies are required and much more people are now flocking to the hospitals. Now, before proceeding, whatsoever we'll discuss here will just be to the point of view of academics, and please will not be politicizing this entire issue. Now, first of all, according to a group of philosophers who are called as deontologists, and the most influential philosopher in this group is Immanuel Kant. So here Kant says that an action should not only be judged onto the basis of outcome that is being received, rather the way or the course or the standards which are being followed in between are also equally relevant. However, on the other hand, there is a principle of efficiency, according to which if efficiency will be restored into the system, then into the long term, everybody will be getting the proportionate benefit out of it. Now, guys, under these two things, let's analyze the move here. So, right now, the hospitals are being congested due to the large number of cases that are coming into the crisis. If we talk only about Delhi, that nearly 29,000 cases have been registered, and this, seeing the size of Delhi and the number of availability of hospitals, this number is huge, and if actions are not taken into the due course of time, then the hospital infrastructure will fall apart. But guys, if we see the standoff of deontologists, then they say that okay, you are trying to save the hospital infrastructure from falling, but in between the actions which are being taken to deny the hospital bed to a person who is battling for life and death, it is not a moral and ethical consideration. Moreover, not only the deontologist but all the ethical philosophers will agree on to the point that the life is the most important ideal, and at every cost the life must be saved. No justification is rational enough that it can deny the right to life to anybody. So now, guys, denying the hospital availability is just like denying the right to life, and into that particular consideration the action becomes immoral. Moreover, guys, when we talk about the public goods such as health, they are made onto the basis of the money that is being paid by the exchequer. Now, the decision is to reserve the hospital beds for the resident, and on for that particular thing, you need to show the documentary proof. But large number of people are living in Delhi who are the mere tenants, and they don't have the supporting evidences, but since they are living, they are contributing into the government revenue. For example, they are paying the taxes on whatever consumption they are making. Secondly, they are paying the utility charges for the goods that they are using. So denying public good to these category of people will not be a justice. Moreover, guys, we also come into the sphere of a preference versus a discrimination. Now, in preference, you give more weightage to some person on the basis of specific credentials, whereas in a discrimination, on the basis of your biasness or hatredness or prejudices, you deny some rights to another person. So in a way, preference is a little bit more refined. Now, guys, here the action could be called as an act of preference, but constitution never gave authority to give preference to one citizen over the other citizen. Secondly, guys, even if the preference is being given, then the preference could be limited only to those spheres which are not doing actual physical harm or the harm of highest category, that is taking away the life. So guys, here even onto the ground of preference, the action might not be justified because there is no moral, no ideal above the value of a life. However, at the end, still government can't sustain these many number of cases, which will even more rise. According to the government report, there will be nearly 1 lakh cases at the end of the June. So how government should respond? So guys, rather than going into these kind of thing, a war footing effort is needed to be made. An unprecedented move is needed because this is something which is historic. So all the machinery should be diverted in such a way, all the private hospitals, majority of private hospitals are robbed in such a way that the capacity should be enhanced rather than giving a preference to a few citizens. So guys, my purpose here is to give you the fodder material for your ethics paper number 4. So on to the basis of requirement, you can mold the material, can give the references. So guys, that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, as the peace talks on LAC to restore the status quo is going on, please remember these 5 protocols that has been signed between India and China for the peace resolution of the disputes onto the LAC sector. And even in these, the most important is the Pact of 1993 and the Border Defense Cooperation Agreement of 2013. So, guys, if any question in GS paper number 2 comes, please mention at least these through agreements, because on these bases only all these talks are being conducted here. Now, guys, in a nutshell, right now the Indian Army wants that the status quo of April should be restored. Whatever the positions were into the April, that should be restored. Now the breakthrough has not been achieved from the talks, however the things are underway. Now the timeline kind of things, that when the things occurred, all these things are not important for us. What we need to do, we need to know the history which we had already seen. We need to see the important locations where the problem is coming, so that you can write it into your answer. Then we need to show that what are the bases on which the peace talks can be conducted. Then we need to show that what could be the way forward, and all these things we had already discussed into the series of articles and editorials that we had discussed. So if you are regularly following, you might have already covered that thing also. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here Odisha government is taking very good efforts and is planning the mega educational complexes for the tribal students. So here we will see certain facts which are important for the prelims, as well as also use it as a case study in GS2, and also will see that how these efforts are also useful in curtailing the internal security problem which is mentioned in GS3. Now guys, first of all, there are 3 districts which has been mentioned. That is the Sundargarh, the Kendujhar, or also called as Kyonjhar, as well as Mayurbhanj. Now, guys, in these 3 regions, the tribal universities will be built, and incidentally, these 3 regions are also the major iron ore producing areas of the India. And particularly, if we talk about the Kendujhar, then here we have Barabil Koira Valley, which is not only the major iron ore reserve in India but also into the world. Moreover, guys, here we can also find the deposits of the manganese. So, guys, please remember it as a mapping location also. Now, when we talk about Odisha, then Odisha has nearly 9% of entire tribal population of the India, and moreover, nearly 23% population of the entire state is made up of the tribals. Moreover, guys, along with them, the government has made a list of the PVTG, that is particularly vulnerable tribal groups. And into the entire country, there are 75 tribal groups which has been given the PVTG tag. And out of this 75, 13 tribal groups are found only into the Odisha. By the way, these are the 4 conditions on whose basis the PVTG tag is given by the government. Now, moving forward, tribal has different needs owing to their different culture and traditions. Moreover, guys, into the Panchsheel policy of Nehru, not the China Panchsheel, but there is also Panchsheel for the tribals. So, into the Panchsheel policy, Nehru had also recognized that a differential development path should be adopted for the tribals. And guys, in this particular direction, the plan to establish the mega educational complex into the tribal region is much appreciated, because here, into their own known language, into their own known ways, the education will be imparted. And in that particular way, the mainstreaming of tribal people with the mainland population can be made. Now, guys, from long, there has been a very wide gap between the tribals and the general population of the country. And guys, often due to the lower educational standards and due to lower socio-economic indicators, often the Naxalist groups try to sow the seeds of discontentment into the tribals, and then they harbor them to join the Naxalist groups, which poses a greater internal security problem. So, guys, by making the attempts such as specialized tribal educational complexes, much needed skills education, vocational training could be imparted, and by this thing the bond between the state and citizens will also be enhanced. Now, friends, here certain tribes have been mentioned. Question on tribes has been asked, so please pay attention here. So, guys, Santal and Bhuan are the two dominant tribal groups living into the Keonjhar and Mayurbhanj and to the Sundargarh district, which we had earlier mentioned. After that, there are certain other tribes also which are important in Odisha. They are the Sonti, Ho, Juang, Kharwar, Mahali, Oraon Kola, and Kora. So, guys, please remember this briefly into your mind and at in which part they are. So, they are towards the east. So, guys, that's all. And now we'll move to next. Now, friends, we have a topic in GS2 that is performance of government schemes. And on that particular note, Chhattisgarh government had performed extremely well onto the MG Narega scheme. Now, guys, Chhattisgarh government had overachieved the target up to the tune of 175% and had created substantial project person days and large number of people had got employment here. Now, friends, this particular thing becomes even more relevant because as lockdown was preceded, people lost their employment avenues, and here, as they received the wages under the MG Narega, it pushed the money into the rural areas, due to which the rural consumption increased, and due to this rural consumption, the rural demand was increased, and other industries also got a flip because of this thing. Moreover, friends, you might be knowing that the Chhattisgarh is also infected with the Naxalism, and as right now the lockdown might have caused the stress, then a better recruitment opportunities could have been appealed by the Naxalism owing to the stress. But here, due to the timely interventions by MG Narega, much needed relief was given. Moreover, the payments into the Naxal region was given into the cash form, which gave much immediate relief as well as satisfaction to the people also. Now, guys, if we talk about the Chhattisgarh government, then into the recent few years, it has been a very progressive state, particularly because of two things, that is the PDS reforms as well as into the MG Narega performance. Into the PDS, Chhattisgarh was a pioneer to introduce the computerization of the PDS record as well as the GPS mapping of the movement of the food grains was also taken up by the Chhattisgarh government. So there also you can quote the example of Chhattisgarh. Now, if we talk about MG Narega, then guys, this particular scheme is centered towards the eradication of the rural poverty, and its approach is the right based approach. So here citizens can ask the employment as a matter of right, and state is bound to endorse that particular thing. Moreover, as the employment is provided for the unskilled work, large number of people automatically become eligible under this particular thing. Moreover, guys, 100 days minimum where work has to be provided, though it can also be enhanced to 130 or 40 days given the circumstances of a particular state. So, friends, please we use the example of Chhattisgarh into this regard. However, large number of data has been provided into the article as how many work days are given, all that kind of thing. So, we'll not go into that thing. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial talks about bringing peace and stability into the Persian Gulf region and how India can play an important role here. Now, first of all, guys, let's see what exactly are the countries nearby the Persian Gulf. Now, first of all, you see this body is Persian Gulf, and this particular region is very important because the major hydrocarbon reserves are located into this particular region. Now, here we can see that first of all, there is going anti-clockwise. First of all, there is Iran. After Iran, there you can see that there is Iraq. After Iraq, there is Kuwait. Then there is Saudi Arabia. After that, you will see that a little tiny small country is here, that is Bahrain. Then we'll find Qatar. Then there is United Arab Emirates, and finally there is Oman. So, guys, these are the eight nations which are surrounding the Persian Gulf and happens to be very important for entire world for their energy security. And one more thing, see this tiny choking point, it is the Strait of Hormuz, which happens to be a very strategic point because the major shipments of the oil need to leave this area, and if somebody controls the Strait of Hormuz, then it can have important geostrategic say into the region also. Now we had seen that the region is very important, but the region is not properly administered and the stability is not there into the region. Now guys, how that particular problem began, for that thing we need to go a little bit into the history. Now till 1970s, this entire body was being administratively controlled by the Britishers. However, soon after that, the countries started to assert their sovereignty. And now this particular region from very start was very important to the United States of America's concern. Why? Because the oil is a currency. And in order to assert the hegemony into the region, USA used three approaches here. First is the Carter Doctrine, second is the Nixon Doctrine, and third is the Twin Pillar approach. Now, guys, according to the Carter Doctrine, which was proclaimed by the former president of USA, Jimmy Carter, he says that in order to protect the national interest, USA can use force into this particular region. And second is the Nixon Doctrine, where USA says that whenever USA feels it will assist the allies into the region, but directly will not take participation into the war. And guys, this has always been done by the USA, that into the name of helping the friends, helping the allies, or helping the democracy, USA had came forward. Now, basically, you can see that both the Carter Doctrine as well as the Nixon Doctrine are nothing but a tacit acceptance that USA, whenever it will want, it will come into the region and will hold the say. Now, guys, coming to the twin pillar approach, see, into the foreign policy, there is a doctrine of offshore balancing. So, offshore balancing means that a powerful nation will use certain proxies into the other region or the regional favorable powers so that they can act as the satellite to this particular country. So, guys, under this twin pillar approach, USA installed two countries which were favorable, and they were asked that you keep an eye onto this region and see that nobody becomes so powerful that it controls the entire region. And these two eyes were the Saudi Arabia and the Iran. However, in 1979, you might have heard into the world history that there was an Iranian revolution, and earlier the Pahlavi dynasty, which was ally of USA, was overthrown, and here the new regime came. So guys, this twin pillar, one pillar fell. So now USA made entry into the Iran and Iraq war. So idea was not to help any nation but to involve itself strategically and to hold the considerable say. And this particular thing was also achieved, and till 1990s USA was the dominant power into this particular region. And even today the USA holds a considerable role here. And now guys, from long, a kind of a everlasting solution for the entire region is being found out by the United Nations Security Council as well as by all the concerned powers. And in this particular capacity, this particular editorial also provides that what could be the essential ingredients or the conditions by which the peace will come into the region. So, friends, these four are the essential ingredients in this direction. First of all, peace should be found for the individual states rather than focusing on to the entire region as a whole, because the conditions for every country is different. Secondly, all the countries should be given the freedom to exploit their hydrocarbons, to sell them, to export them, and to trade them. There should be no restriction in that particular regard. Thirdly, the freedom of shipping should be given to all the countries, that they can freely pass from the Strait of Hormuz as well as from the region. And guys, then all the conditions which may topple these things or which may erode these things, those kind of conditions should be prevented. Nobody should be allowed to topple this particular regime. Now, guys, a question comes that okay, these are the things which are required, but who will make sure that these things are maintained? Who will be the enforcer? So enforcer could be someone who is internal or someone who could be external. So guys, in this particular direction, what we find that there are two particular actors which are playing the role here. Now, internally, there is a GCC, that is Gulf Cooperation Council. Now, guys, here you can see the member of GCC, and you will find that here the Iraq has not been included, and neither the Iran has been included. Now, guys, their involvement is also very much necessary, and altogether, even after having the GCC, nothing substantial has been achieved. Moreover, guys, internally, other problems are also very much rampant. For example, the crisis into the Yemen, Libya, and Syria have the wide repercussions into the region. Secondly, Joint Comprehensive Action Plan or the nuclear agreement that was signed between the USA and Iran has also toppled during the time of Donald Trump. So, again, a kind of a destability is coming. So, guys, we see that credible institutions are lacking into the region. Moreover, certain new strategic events are also occurring. For example, it is observed that the Saudi Arabia is losing its power and the power is fading away. Secondly, it has been seen that the Iran is still resurgent even after the cancellation by the USA's over the nuclear agreement. Thirdly, it has been seen that the countries into the region, for example, Kuwait, Qatar, and even now the UAE, is forging the relationship towards the Iran. So, Iran is becoming a credible power. Moreover, guys, till now it has been seen that the USA's policies are also not bringing any result, and this thing has been realized by nearly all the countries here. So, guys, these are certain emerging things. And in this particular background, India can play an important role into the region. Why? Because first of all, India shares a cordial relation with nearly all the countries. Secondly, the economic ties between the India and the region are favorable, where the large number of people are working into the GCC countries, and even they are sending the remittances back to India. Moreover, guys, various strategic investments have also been made by India into these countries, and in return, the countries have also made investment into the India, and that particular thing is evident because Abu Dhabi as well as Saudi Arabia are both ready to invest into the Ratnagiri oil refinery, which will be situated into the Maharashtra. So, guys, all these things point towards a greater synergy in India as well as into the Gulf nation. Moreover, guys, when we have talked that the Iran is rising, so Iran also shares a special relation with the India, and all that thing has been achieved by India by a very careful strategy. First of all, India doesn't involve itself into the regional disputes of the power, due to which India holds a considerable say into all the countries. Secondly, India has always promoted the peace as well as regional stability, and had always promoted the ideas that we had discussed here. And due to all these things, India is liked by all the countries. So, guys, now the time has come that India should come out of its zone and should work on to the greater scale into this particular region and should bring the durable peace. So, guys, this is all about the issues with respect to this particular article, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this is an excellent article and it has given excellent prescription as how the private sector can be involved along with the public sector to give a fight to the present pandemic. Now, guys, if I tell you some hard facts, then according to the Central Bureau of Health Intelligence, in India, we have nearly 10.8 lakh registered allopathy doctors, but out of this many number, only 1.1 lakh doctors are working into the public hospitals. So it means that nearly 90% of the doctors are involved into the private sector, and only 10% doctors are involved into the public sector or into the government hospitals. And the same is the condition with respect to the bed capacity also. Guys, nearly 84% of the beds are there into the private sector. Why? Because inherently always the majority of population though cannot afford private but are dependent onto the private sector only. And right now the center's government on involving the private sector is not very much clear. Obviously government is into a denial mode, where they can say they are saying that they can live without the private sector, but in reality it is a time that the need of private sector should be recognized. Now, guys, there are two particular countries into the Europe. On one side there is Spain, on other side there is UK. So, guys, UK also did not involve the private sector, and the health infrastructure reached the peak capacity, and there were the problems. Whereas on the other hand, if we see the case of Spain, then, guys, Spain nationalized the private hospitals for a time being and robbed the private sector, and was able to give the response to the demand of the healthcare services. Now, guys, India also needs to urgently enrope the private sector. Now, guys, there are various advantages as how private sector can come and how it can help. For example, we will take the area of the testing. Now, as testing is to be ramped up substantially, so three things should be done. First of all, into the public sector hospitals, private labs can be opened up because large number of hospitals don't have functional labs, and into these labs the test could be conducted, and these labs could then be paid by the government onto the basis of the test that they are doing. Secondly, what can happen? The people or the citizens could be given the e-vouchers for the testing, and these e-vouchers could be accepted by the private lab, and on the basis of these e-vouchers the test of the citizens could be conducted. Now guys, at the end of the day, these e-vouchers could be resubmitted by these private labs to the government, and government can reimburse the private lab onto the basis of number of e-vouchers. And thirdly, what we can do is that the special mobile labs could be installed into the regions which are high density clusters, and there people can go for the testing, and all the expenditures could be paid by the government to the private sector. So guys, into this particular way the testing capabilities could be enhanced. Now friends, after the testing we will go to the infrastructure. So guys, with respect to the infrastructure, first strategy could be this, that the government can hire the private contractor to convert the existing wards into the government hospitals into the ICUs, as right now the need of ICUs will be more. And guys, in this particular way, in very less time the large number of ICUs can be built by the private contractors, which will then be given to the public. After that, what we can do, many a times there is also the shortage into the government hospitals to operate the ICUs. So here what we can do, we can go into the agreement with the private hospitals, and the private hospitals can provide their own staff to the government and can charge the salaries or any kind of remuneration for that particular thing. And for thirdly, what could be done, government hospitals can refer the COVID-19 patients to the private hospitals, and they can treat them onto some fixed package that will be paid by the government. Now guys, already under the Jan Arogya Abhiyan, that is the Ayushman Bharat Abhiyan, government allows the people to get their treatment into the private hospital. So guys, this particular thing should be further enhanced. And finally, after them, there are two more areas where the private sector could also help. First is the supply chain. We know that there will be the requirement of large number of testing kits, medicines, and all that kind of equipments. So all the biomedical supplies could be procured from the private sector onto the long-term contracts, and government can enhance their capacity. Then guys, the central intelligence system is required. Why? Because in order to meet the crisis guys, we need to carry out the extensive contact tracing, we need to provide alternatives such as e-telehealth, we need to procure the or generate the e-vouchers, then the database of all the infected people is to be kept, and for all that thing a huge central intelligence database is required. So here the IT giants such as Infosys, TCS, etc. should also be robbed. And in this particular way, we can not only fight the present pandemic, but our health systems will become even robust to fight even the upcoming crisis also. So, guys, these are some excellent advices. You can use it into your exam. And now we'll move to the next. Now, guys, this editorial talks about an intervention that has been taken by the various state governments into the private healthcare sector. And this particular intervention is much appreciated. Now, friends, initially government said that they will be the forerunner into the treatment of the COVID-19, and in that capacity it was said that they will provide both treatment as well as a testing. However, as the need of more testing arose, they said that okay, private sector can now come into the testing, and the cost for every test was capped at 4500 rupees, which was a good step into this direction. However, into the treatment, government continued, but now as the number of cases are increasing, government allowed the private sector that they can come into the treatment of the people also, but adequate safeguards are needed to be kept into the place. Now guys, as this thing started, various private sectors started to charge exorbitant prices for the treatment. Here into the editorial we can see that the cost can go upward to 7 lakh rupees for a 14 days of hospitalization, and it can be even more if some life saving aids are also needed, but this particular cost cannot be paid by everyone. So in this direction, various state governments such as Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu as well as Gujarat has capped the prices, maximum prices that the hospitals can charge. In this particular capacity, hospitals are segregated into the different grades onto the basis of facility, but the standard tariff rates, ICU rates, everything has been fixated. And this particular thing is very much good, because guys, anyhow, the health or the right to health should not only be into the domain of the wealthy or the affluent, rather it is a public good that is needed to be given to everybody irrespective of its income status. Moreover, India talks about the universal health care, and the universal healthcare will not be fulfilled until the price caps will not be there. So guys, in this particular respect, the state governments are doing good job. So this is all about this article. Now we'll go to next. Now friends, this particular editorial puts a certain light onto the man animal conflict which are the problem in India. Now, friends, just a couple of days back, an elephant died in Kerala, and there was substantial anger onto the social media against a farmer who had laced the pineapple with the explosives, because by consuming that thing, the elephant died into the water. Now, into this particular thing, we are accusing the farmer, but we are not looking onto the bigger part of the problem. This is being said into the article. Now, into all the countries, there are certain animals which have a very large population and they create nuisance to the agriculture as well as farmers. Now, into the developed nation, what happens? The state government culls or kills these animals onto the regular intervals. But into the case of developing countries, many a times the governments are not that much vigilant. Therefore, the local people take the matter into their hand and they kill these type of animals by using different tactics. Now, guys, in India we have the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and there is a provision that any such kind of animal could be classified as vermin, and then the government can take steps to eliminate these type of animals. Now, the boar for which the pineapple was kept, which was accidentally consumed by the elephant, has also been classified as the vermin. But despite of this thing, state government has not taken enough actions for the culling of the boar or this vermin. So therefore, the farmers or the local people take these kind of steps. Now, guys, it is also a reciprocal relation, because these boars or the vermins, they destroy the farm's crops and the farmer in return eat them, and this arrangement is going on for so long. So therefore it is not something new. Now guys, the incident was tragic, but it was not meant to kill the animal which was accidentally killed. Now see, this editorial says that onto the social media, all the people, they are just ganging against a poor farmer who by the mistake did this kind of thing. But the people living into the urban areas are also responsible for the plight of animals, because they also consume animal based diets, animal derived clothing, belts, shoes, all these kind of things. So guys, just cherry picking a poor person will not be good. So this is suggested by the editorial. Then going forward, it is being suggested that rather than making giving a knee jerk reaction, we need a long term strategy. So the long term strategy will involve certain steps. Number 1, there is an urgent need to control the population of boar or such vermins, because if they will be rampant and will be intruding into the agricultural areas, people will use indigenous techniques in which the elephants and other animals can also die. So there should be the regular culling of such animals. Anyhow, they are into the least concerned category, so they will also not go extinct. But guys, here is also the problem number 1 are the environmentalists, as whenever such kind of initiative is taken on the name of animal rights, they oppose that particular kind of thing. Second problem is that the government departments are very much lazy to enforce these rules, so the implementation also happens to be a challenge. Now coming to point number 2, see, various animals enter into the human beings territory, and there are the man animal conflict. But guys, it is being a fact that historically, though we have made boundaries that this region belongs to animal and this belongs to man, but there has been no basis of this distinction, because if we take the data, then only 25% of animal elephant range is into the protected areas. So guys, 75% of range is inherently into the territories where the man are living. And for the leopard, there is the Majgonkar report which says only 2.6% of their range is into the protected regions. So the bottom line that we can derive from here is that though the distinction into the regions have been made, but it can't be enforced because simply the estimates are wrong here. So we need to rectify this anomaly here. Moreover, there is rampant destruction of the environment. Even recently in Assam, into an elephant rage, the clearance to the coal mine was given, and these things will not be good for the welfare of the animals. And guys, the National Board of Wildlife and the Forest Advisory Committee are just turned into a rubber stamps and are not taking active actions to enforce the protection of the wildlife. So if there will be the destruction of environment, and if there will be the apathy by the bureaucratic departments, such kind of incidents of killing the innocent animals will continue to happen. So guys, these are certain things into this particular regard. So an alternative viewpoint is always needed, and it should be there into your minds also. So guys, this was all about this article, and now we'll go to next. Now friends, this particular article is with respect to the regional geopolitics, and the case study is China. Now we will not be going that much into the detail, but with respect to the exam we will see what could be the important issues here. Now we all know that the LAC has been a major flashpoint between India and China, and the reasons for this particular thing could be certain, which we will be see here in this article. Number one, according to the Indian government, the problem is because of the different perceptions on to the nature of LAC. According to the India, LAC goes from this point, but according to the China, LAC goes from this particular point. So here happens a dispute into the region. But this is not the point, because so many boundary agreements have been signed that 2 3 points could be actually into the contention. But regions such as Galwan Valley, where now the confrontation has been reached, were never into the problem. So guys, the perception is a wrong opinion here according to the article. Now friends, Galwan Valley etc., already we had seen multiple times on the map. You might have also seen that thing. Now the next thing is that LAC problem is also because of the reasons such as the China Pakistan economic corridor, which passes from the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now guys, into the recent time, India is upgrading the infrastructure into the Kashmir near the POK. For example, near Daulat Beg Oldie, substantial infrastructural projects have been taken up, including the revamped road network. By the way, guys, here the Galwan it can also be seen. And as this particular region lies near to the Aksai Chin as well as towards the POK, China is apprehensive that into times to come there could be certain problems onto the CPEC also. Moreover, guys, if you remember, then into the last year we had revoked the article number 370. Because of this particular thing, Pakistan is very much angry. And if China wants to enjoy the support of Pakistan, China should act onto this particular incident. And that particular thing is being done via the incursions into the LAC. And after that, guys, there are certain other China's domestic concerns also. So into the domestic front, there are people who are frustrated by the Chinese policies, because of the pandemic, a slowdown has come into an economy. Moreover, people are also questioning the leadership of the Xi Jinping, and in order to pacify them, the China is going on to the over adventurism onto the boundary issues. Moreover, you also have seen that the issue of Hong Kong and Taiwan are also brewing up into the recent days. So the recent policies of China could also be an indication to the Hong Kong and Taiwan that they should not dream of autonomy or any considerable concession. So guys, these are certain important considerations that are going on into the China. So that's all. Now we'll go to next. Now, guys, in a brief update, China had issued a white paper where it had denied the allegations that China covered up the rise of a pandemic. They had said that the first case of the virus was noticed on 27th of December, and only towards the 19th of January it was ascertained that the virus could be transmitted from human to human transmission. So before that, it is being said that the China was not knowing that the virus is contagious, and since they got the information, they contained the Hubei as well as Wuhan region, and there is nothing cover up into the China's action. Moreover, into the spirit of a good gesture, China has also said that whenever the vaccine will be invented, China will make available to everyone as a part of a public good. And in that particular direction, researches are also going on into the China. So, guys, not that much important for exam, but just a kind of an update to keep you updated with the recent developments. So, friends, this is all, and now we'll go to the question section. Now friends, we are into the MCQ section. Please pause the video and try to answer them. So first question is with respect to the traffic. Please consider these statements and attempt the right answer. Now guys, question number 2 is with respect to the science and technology. Here you need to consider the magnetocaloric material for the cancer treatment. So please see the options and try to answer it. Friends, question number 3 is with respect to the National Tiger Conservation Authority. Now, please see the statements and try to answer it. Now, the question number 4 is with respect to the schemes, and here we have asked the sovereign gold bond scheme. So, guys, again, there are options. Try to identify the right one. Now, guys, question with respect to mains. So here the question says that the time has come that SDG goal calls for joint collaboration between different stakeholders of governance must be now draw into reality in healthcare. So guys, SDG, healthcare and collaboration, three themes you need to write here into this answer. So it will be a 15 marker question. So please try to answer it.